Hello legends! Last month I covered the Blindfold Cheater world game, who over the course of 11 years racked up millions and millions of views by faking blindfold completions in Geometry Dash. Personally, I had never heard of World Game, or even knew about his existence before he was exposed. But given that I have a pretty good understanding of blindfolded competition, I think I would have immediately found his videos very suspicious just because of the way he went about things. His entire shtick was so obviously fake and contrived. However, World Game's method of faking his runs was really smart. Well, smart isn't the right word. A more apt description would be unnecessarily convoluted. World Game used masking to cover up the screen with different footage, and he even masked his hand, which is crazy. I don't think I've seen someone try to cheat in this particular way before. However, all of this was unnecessary. The exact same effect could have been done without any masking at all, and he could have cheated in a way that for all intents and purposes would have been impossible to spot. First of all, he was not even using a proper blindfold. For all we know, he could see straight through it. And second of all, because he isn't wearing a proper sleep mask or proper blindfold, there are huge gaps on either side of his nose. This would easily allow him to see anything down below or to the side. So all he would have to do is plug in an extra monitor, put it on the floor down here out of camera frame, and use it to play. If he did use this method, there would be no need for masking at all, neither for the screen nor his hand, as he could just record a real run where he is actually playing because he could see. And honestly, while no blindfolded competitor would take his videos seriously, because again, his blindfold is practically useless, it would basically be impossible to prove he was cheating. And clearly the general public didn't seem to care that his videos were obviously fake. His videos would essentially look exactly the same, but without the mistakes that ultimately got him caught. If someone like me watched his videos, they would say, well, this is obviously fake, because blindfolded players don't do this stupidly long song and dance before every attempt. But most people would think nothing of it. I was shocked when I saw how many views this guy was getting. Millions of views for every completion. There are real blindfold specialists doing amazing things without the use of their eyes, and they get a tiny fraction of the amount of views. Is there something special about Geometry Dash that equates to huge views if you do it blindfolded? I have no idea. But there was one man who saw World Game's channel and thought, you know what, I reckon I could do that. And by golly, he did. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Blind Dasher. Before jumping into his videos, clearly he has taken a little bit of inspiration from World Game for his thumbnails. Dare I say it, he may have even straight up copied them.
I'm seeing double here. 4 crusties!
But it's the subtle things that makes World Game the far superior product. In the thumbnails, World Game went out of his way to change the progress bar from normal mode to closed eyes mode. And he made that alteration very prominent by zooming in on the text, while Blind Dasher just put the original screen as the background. This is lazy. If you are going to copy the thumbnail, at least put some real effort into it. I mean, the hardest part, actually using some creativity, has already been done for you. Maybe change it to blindfold mode or something. It could be the most predictable change ever, but at least it would be something. Everything else was copied as much as possible. For instance, changing the color of the blindfold. He even wore different caps. So maybe he thought wearing a cap was the secret ingredient that would really take his thumbnails to the next level. But anyways, let's get into his videos, starting with level 1. Though first, I need to let you know that I have started making videos on my second channel. I've wanted a second channel for years, where I can make videos on topics without having to spend weeks investigating or worrying about view counts. So if you do want more content, please make sure to go and subscribe. The link will be in the description. Oh boy, we are not off to a good start here. As I said in my video on World Game, these theatrics are a very strong indicator of cheating. They aren't 100% proof of anything, but things are already not looking good. Bruh, I can literally see straight through that blindfold. If even I can see straight through your blindfold from here, then you can certainly see straight through it if you put it up to your eyes. Now, this is your first fake video, so I'm going to forgive you for making such a huge blunder, but I certainly hope to see a more convincing blindfold in future videos. And just for some advice, I would certainly recommend a darker fabric which looks far more legitimate. Now in this case, it's immediately apparent that Blind Dasher is really playing the game. There is no masking, no pre-recorded video, all of his clicks on the mouse line up with his gameplay, but the flying section is where his disgusting ignorance of blindfolded technique is exposed. This is really, really bad. Even World Game, with all of his video editing fakery, had at least some basic understanding of what you need to do when playing blindfolded. One of the things that makes Blind Geometry Dash so hard are the flying sections. When you are just a cube, the only thing you have to worry about is timing your click. You don't have to worry about up or down. It's very simple. But when you're flying, things become extremely complex, because now you need to know exactly where you are on the screen on the vertical axis on top of where you are on the horizontal axis. This is no longer an instance where you just need to time a click. You need to figure out some way to keep track of how high you are on the screen without any feedback. It's very similar to the way Queen Pwnzalot showed her ignorance in Monster Hunter. She would not use the lock-on feature, and would instead manually look up and down, tracking the monster's head perfectly, which is impossible. There is just no way to know where you are aiming on the vertical axis, which is why players use the lock-on feature. Otherwise, they just end up looking straight up or straight down. Locking on is the exact tool we need in Monster Hunter, but in Geometry Dash, we have no such feature. So in Geometry Dash, we need to figure out a way to know with precision exactly where we are. And this is a well-established technique in blindfolded runs called normalization. I will let the legend himself, Bubsier, explain what normalization is.
Technique number 2. Normalization. Normalization is one of the most important and frequently used blindfolded speedrunning techniques. There is not really a fixed definition for this term, but what it means in context of blindfolded speedruns is a fixed way to do the same action every time with the same result. We mostly differ between two main kinds of normalization: normalized movement and normalized positions. Now to normalized positions. These are positions in a game that we can identify with 100% confidence and use to locate our current position. Mostly, these are corners in rooms or special objects that you can get stuck on.
In Geometry Dash, there is a way to know exactly where you are on the vertical axis, and that is by going all the way up to the roof or coming all the way down to the floor. The roof and the floor provide natural barriers that you can safely, at least in the first few levels, run up against. And that is why when you watch legitimate blindfold runners, you'll see them use the roof and the floor as much as possible. And even a cheater like World Game knew this basic concept. So on his level 1 video, while it is fake, he did at least implement the use of normalization. He used the roof and the floor as much as he could to make it look believable. But the eventual problem with normalization is that after a few levels, it becomes functionally impossible to do because the roof and the floor get replaced with terrain that instantly kills you as soon as you touch it. So this technique of normalization becomes unusable, and therefore people can no longer complete these levels, which is why only 4 levels have ever been legitimately beaten blindfolded. And when you watch World Game complete the more difficult levels, his flying sections just become stupidly unfeasible. But this is not out of ignorance. It's just not a strategy you can use for many levels, because of the way the game was designed. As levels progress, the safety of the roof and the floor just completely disappears. Blind Dasher, on the other hand, he just doesn't give a fuck. straight from level 1, the level where normalization is the easiest, he just ignores the concept completely and flies the ship as if he can see. At this point, I don't even need to prove anything. The way he is playing the game is just not possible. Let's move on to level 2. Are you serious? You don't even need to pause the video to realize light is going straight through that blindfold. This is honestly the worst fake blindfold I have ever seen. Well, actually, that's probably not true. Queen Pwn's a Lot's one was also pretty bad, but this one is pretty shockingly terrible too. Dude, he even flies through a tiny gap while flying without normalizing at all just to get the secret coin. What a madman.
Yes.
Bravo! What a performance. Alright, we have a darker blindfold now. It's laid out on the table just like World Game did, but at least World Game's blindfold was nice and neatly spread across the table. Blind Dash's blindfold looks messy and ugly, so I'm definitely going to deduct points for disorderly blindfold presentation. Uh-oh, I see light coming through the blindfold. I have a sneaking suspicion this might not be legitimate.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, this is brilliant. We got 2 yeses and an exhale. Let me just quickly run through these post-run celebrations because I want to check to see if he does that exhale on every single one.
Yes. Yes.
Bro, please don't leave me hanging. There it is.
Yes. Yes.
Holy shit, what a combination. A yes, an exhale, a finger kiss, then another yes, and another exhale. This is a masterclass in screenplay writing.
Yes.
Now we are really starting to get creative. He completely switched up the order. This time going from a yes straight into a finger kiss, then finishing with an exhale. I am seriously on the edge of my seat, waiting to see what he'll do next.
Yes.
This one is insane. He leads with an exhale, transitioned perfectly into a table bump, then followed that up with a yes. I don't know how he comes up with all of these unique combinations.
Yes.
Oh my god, Blind Dasher just keeps breaking new ground. Now we are going to break this down in detail because it's not until you examine it closely that you truly appreciate his mastery over this craft. Upon finishing the level, he leads with a yes. Then a precision exhale at the perfect moment, which transitions without hesitation straight into a table bump with open hand. Then, after waiting the perfect amount of time building suspense, he looks right at the camera and caps everything off with a single, soft kiss to his finger. This is art at its finest. Let me just do a quick blindfold check. I can see through it here, 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 and here. Alright, this is Blind Dasher, everyone. His fake blindfolded runs hasn't quite given him the success of World Game yet, but if he keeps faking, I really do think he could blow up any day.